Coal India. Well, let's get in Pashupati Advani of Global Foray, who joins us on the show. Hi, Pashupati. Good afternoon and good to see you in as always. Let's talk about Coal India and the entire power theme. That's been a pocket which has made big money, right? I mean, if you look at anything to do with power, whether it's the finances, the power companies, Coal India, everything has run up considerably. Do you like something from here, or do you believe it's time, if you have these stocks, maybe book some profits?
Well, the reality is that we are a power short nation, and if you look at the long trend, definitely we require all the power we can produce and more. So one of the things is that obviously we've seen a big ramp up in solar, but that doesn't mean that we are going away from natural sort of materials like coal and also oil and gas. So I think all three are good. And you've also mentioned earlier in the show about the fact that oil prices are going down. Maybe we haven't noticed there's an election coming in America in the next 2 months. So, I think that they definitely are pushing what they say, we want to see gas prices down. And I think that's definitely part of it. So they've been sitting on a lot of stock. They're going to start pushing it out in the market and making sure that the prices of prices of oil remain at below $70, and I think that's very, very good for India. So I mean, my suggestion would be, if the government had its way, it should buy and load up while the prices are down between now and the election time, and then we can go off to the races and be at least content for the next few months in terms of our needs.
That's an interesting thought, Pashupati. Probably there could be a lot that goes on behind the scenes. That kind of explains, right? So that's where the phone call maybe went to the Libyans saying, don't talk about shutting off the tap right now. You need to keep that crude flowing. OPEC Plus is saying that we'll keep the supply going as well. And that explains the bearishness in the price. But, that apart, Pashupati, the other big sort of story really is US tech. And it seemed like this invincible wall. You could do no wrong with the NASDAQ and US tech stocks, right? And then you get all this NVIDIA-related, volatility. What's the sense? I mean, do you think the mothership is in fine form and that rally will continue, or do you see, that engine sputtering to some extent?
Well, what's happened is, with this hype about AI, which I actually believe in, one of all the problems that are coming up are being thrown at the AI situation in terms of what's going to happen to the requirement of power, what's going to happen to the requirement of, there's heat being generated. There's all sorts of other, now people are talking about, the fact that AI can take over our lives. Elon Musk is talking about putting chips in everybody's heads. So, there's now going to be, I think, a little bit of respite where governments at least are going to take a step back and say, okay, what do we want out of AI? We know it, we can use it, but we have to use it in a way that doesn't wipe us out. Donald Trump has made this statement that you're not going to need to vote. Maybe in 4 years' time, everybody will have a chip in their heads and they just think Democrat or they think Republican, and the vote gets transmitted. So, I mean, that's really futuristic, but that's kind of the way I think things are going. So interesting times, certainly in the AI space. But again, if you need AI, you definitely need NVIDIA chips, but obviously not at the pace that they were making out. So now I think this pause has obviously put a bit of a shudder and knocked off, what, $200-300 billion in the market cap of NVIDIA. That's a lot. So, I mean, that's, but then, when you play hard, you fall hard too. So that's my thought.
Okay. Pashupati, hi. Afternoon. Rima here.
Hi, Sonia.
So
Hi,
we've spoken a lot about Paytm in the past, and you got that one right. Now, after that, there have been a few new age tech companies. So Ola Electric, much to the surprise of everyone, had a blockbuster listing. But after that, the stock has corrected now for the 11th day in a row and is down 30% from the high that it hit of 157. The other one is a First Cry. That one also got listed. Anything that's got your attention?
Well, what's actually got my attention is the SEBI report that says most guys flip their IPOs within the first week. And, that's what we're seeing in the whole IPO land. I think, the sensible thing to do if you're a long-term investor is to wait for the thing to settle and then, decide whether you want to go in. And, things like maybe last year's IPOs, one of the most successful ones was Route Mobile, which, is in a real business, and, people did get into it. in the low 4 digits, and now it's in the mid 4 digits. So I'm just saying that you have to actually take a step back, and even the sort of the Paytms and the Nykas and the Zomatos, people have looked at it, and the PB Bazaar, Policy Bazaar, they've all looked at those and said, okay, they now have businesses, they've settled. Should we buy them? Yes, I think this business has a future. So then, let's load in. I mean, this time last year we were talking about the big four, right? Zomato, PB, Paytm, and Nykaa. And this year we'll have another four, which Ola Electric will be one. So Zomato's done well, PB's done well. Nykaa's doing okay. I think the issue price, if I recollect, is in the like 150, 160. So that's okay for the year compared to the rest of the market. So, I mean, one has to take one's spots and put it away. But I am seeing a lot of new issue product. We read about the automobile dealer getting in the SME market some huge amount of IPO, which is not healthy for the market, in my opinion. But, IPOs also give a chance for retail to get in, and demat accounts are getting opened at some crazy rate. So that's all good for the country.
With his two dealerships, and I think seeking 12 crores, getting some thousands of crores in bids. That's been the story of the past month, I think. But to go back to the point, I remember our chat in the summer. At that point in time, you did have a little bit of Zomato. So have you held on to it? Because the stock's done phenomenally well. And I'm just wondering, I mean, would you be interested in taking a bite of Swiggy as well? I don't know if you look at unlisted, if you already have it, or the whole space and the way it's played out.
So the thing is that Swiggy is being offered obviously at a discount to Zomato, and therefore, people are looking at it. I'm not so wild about the listed space. That's because, old habits die hard, and we like to be able to just pull the trigger and get out in 2 days. So I'm actually have an abhorrence even for locked in stock. Some of it you have to take, but I really don't like buying stock more than 6 month lock in. So, I am leaving things on the table because the Swiggy at a discount to Zomato, and in theory, there's revision to mean, so it should be at a similar PE, 2 years from now. Therefore, that's a 2-year horizon. But I think that, as I said, I've been in and out of Paytm out of the whole lot, and that's the one I've watched the most. Nykaa I missed, and Zomato I just entered for a trade. I just had some fun. But Paytm I'm now out, and I just think that there's too much. It was news driven, and there's a lot of still uncertainty to do with the news, but they are maintaining well. They've set up a payment gateway. They've stopped giving loans. So that's all probably good for them.
All right. Yeah. Hi, Pashupati. I wanted to ask you about, since you briefly mentioned the unlisted space, we could practically have another exchange. Probably, at least that's what the street believes, in the coming months or the coming year or so. The NSE could probably list, and we know this entire financialization theme, higher participation in the markets as well. How would you play it? In the unlisted market, I think Sudhir is doing a show on that. I think NSE is at around 5,500 rupees, but BSE has been actually a multiplier in the last 12, 18 months. Your view?
Yeah, so, that's a good setup, except that, with the market in the last month or so just basically trading in a range, that's not good for BSE, NSE, and that's not good for brokerage stocks. We're seeing brokerage stocks actually soften a little bit, which is bound to happen because volumes are going down. Retail is not making money the way they were 6 months ago. But I think the game will be in buying CDSL, for example, which is going to get continuing revenue. Maybe in time between CDSL and NSDL, they maybe get properties onto their platform. That'll be good. There's also a push to open push mutual funds, which some people still have in folios, onto demat. So those are all good things, and that's going to basically be more transparent for the whole market, and we'll be able to get a lot more statistics and things like that. But that's life. That's the growth. That's where we are at in our place in the world, with our trillions going up and getting another trillion in the next 2 years in market cap, which will be great.
Pashupati, thank you very much for joining us this Wednesday afternoon. For the markets trying to inch towards 25,000.